Alrighty. Hello, bonjour, Annie, hola. My name is Garrett Ryan, and I am with Artist Relations here at Fringe North this season. I am super happy to be back here once again on our Fringe North roundtable. I was going to say artist roundtable, but today actually we are joined by our amazing team. Last week we had a little bit of a peek behind the curtain, um, talking about the festival as a whole. And today we are going to talk a little bit about some of the incredible people that make this festival happen. We have one more of these happening next Thursday at 7. So make sure to join us for that. But for now, I am so happy to be joined here by Tova, Celeste, Avery, and Emma. Um, to jump right into it, I, I'd love to just know what is your position at the festival, to give the audience a little bit of context. Starting with me, I am with Artist Relations, as I said. So that basically looks like just working with the incredible artists that are involved with the festival and making sure we are aiding them in any way we can to showcase their work. And also that includes facilitating stuff like this and podcasts and marketing. And I'm really privileged to have this role because I get to meet so many incredible artists and build these relationships with them. Um, so I'd love to hear about some of our other amazing staff positions. So I'll pass it over to Celeste.
Thanks, Garrett. Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Celeste. I am the Multicultural Project Officer with a focus on Indigenous outreach. So my position entails calling out to organizations and individuals, getting people aware and involved in the Fringe North Festival as much as possible, with a focus on equity, diversity, and inclusion, and a big focus this year on reaching out to Indigenous organizations to have them involved in the festival. And I will pass it on to Avery.
Thanks, Celeste. Yeah, my name is Avery. My official title is Special Events Coordinator, AV Technician. So I'm along with everyone else, just making sure everything's in place for the festival to happen. A big focus has been working on a lot of the not marketing materials, but the print aspects, along with many other things. And during the festival, kind of be there to support artists and make sure the shows happen. Yeah, and I'll pass it to Emma.
Thanks, Avery. Hello, everyone. My name is Emma, and I am one of two digital technicians for Fringe North this summer. Like many of our team members, I wear a lot of different hats, but I'm all things digital. So my main focus for this summer was ticketing. For the first year for Fringe North, we did ticketing in-house. So that was a big task of mine. I've worked on some marketing materials. I edit podcasts, lots of video content, and I'm just here to make sure that all of our digital things run smoothly. And I will pass it to Tova.
Thank you, Emma. Hi, folks. My name is Tova. My pronouns are she, her. Many of you might already know me in one of the fringe hats I wear as president and co-founder of the festival and organization here in Sault Ste. Marie. But this summer, I'm really happy to be sharing some kind of on the ground work with the rest of the team that you see here and those folks who aren't. And I'm helping with marketing and community engagement, just getting the word out there, getting people excited and ready to be part of the festival, and all the moving parts that come along with getting the word out there and kind of trying to fan that flame of excitement as we get closer and closer to festival.
Amazing. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing. I think one of the things about this work in particular is that it can be very, I don't know if sporadic is the right word, but it's not a traditional type of job. And doing this work can be very emotionally, spiritually draining, I guess is the right word, in a good way, but in a real way. But I think for all of us, there needs to be some kind of underlying passion for this work, something that is pushing us forward. So I'd love to hear a little bit about your backgrounds in arts and culture, and anything related to the festival that is kind of driving you in this position. Why don't we start with you, Emma, this time?
Sure. So there's definitely a lot of pieces in my life that drove me to working with Fringe North. I've been involved in the arts community in Sault Ste. Marie since I was little. I've been a competitive dancer my whole life. I participated in lots of theater growing up. My parents are musicians, so naturally I took up singing, voice, choir, all of those things. And I also work as a dance teacher. I'm a really big inclusive arts education advocate. I live with a chronic illness, so I really am driven to put inclusion at the forefront in the arts. So Fringe North just seemed like the perfect fit for me. We are a really inclusion-driven organization. So I am a little bit all over the place in terms of artistic endeavors, but I really love my time at Fringe North, and it's a really wonderful organization to be a part of as an artist. And can I pass it off?
Yeah.
I will pass it to Celeste.
Thanks, Emma. Yeah, so I've also been involved with music from as far back as I can remember, doing music classes as well as dance, and doing choir as a youth in the community and in church. And then it really kicked off in high school. I joined theater, choir, concert band, anything they had, I was in it, as well as some community theater. I'm currently attending Laurier, taking music, and being able to do something where I can bring that knowledge and that passion into, and then also bringing in my Métis heritage and culture, and being able to bring that outreach and that Indigenous perspective has been really special for me, and something that I've been really proud to be able to do. And I will pass it to Avery.
Thanks, Celeste. Yeah, so I've been involved in theater for quite a while, and I'm currently at school for drama. And I started at Fringe North as an artist in 2021 as an emerging artist in residency, and then since then have like continued to do a lot of theater. And before then was also doing a lot of theater, but now have been more in the backstage kind of roles. So in this position, I'm kind of getting to use those like producing and marketing type skills that go with theater, along with like my more like stage management side. So that's pretty cool for me at least. And I'll pass it off to Tova.
Thanks, Avery. You know, I love to hear all of, not to get off on a tangent, but I love to hear everyone talk about this piece of it, because first and foremost, Fringe festivals, not just here in the Sioux, but right across the globe, are created by artists for artists. And I think, you know, listening to all the team members here speak about how passion driven each of them are, and how we've all been involved since early years in this. It's just like, that is Fringe in its essence, and it's so special. I've also been in the arts since I was a kid, started out in music, got to, if you're local, you know all about the Gartshore family music legacy. I was part of that, playing in the orchestra, going out to the summer music camp on St. Joe's Island. Then I got into theater, and quite frankly, I'm pretty sure my parents just shoved me at a director friend of ours when I was an unruly preteen and said, please do something with this kid. And that was my first show. I was about 11, and I haven't looked back since. Helped to run theater camps and workshops and performances through my high school years and into university, where I went to art school. And then down I went to the Big Smoke, Toronto, to try to make it work as an actor. And for so many of us, that meant hospitality for a really long time, where I got to learn the other side of events. And coming back home to Sault Ste. Marie has been really exciting, as I was able to bring the experience that I had learned, not just on the stage, not just, you know, working with other artists to present works and create works, but also the producer side of things, the backstage side of things, and how it all comes together under that event facilitation umbrella. So it's a really, you know, multifaceted experience that has brought me to here, and all my years with Fringe since 2015. Been here since the beginning through all the iterations of this festival, and I'm sure excited of where we are and where we're going to. Back to you, Garrett.
Incredible. Yeah, I spoke a little bit on our last roundtable last week about my journey into fringes specifically, but similar to some of the other stories being shared here, I definitely had a varied experience in arts. I grew up doing theater. I did music. I did like guitar lessons and things like that. I did film. I went to when I went into high school and at my art school, I started wanting to do film and media and kind of shifted over into theater. And then the way I got into the role I'm in now, and also my work with my theater company as a producer and a director, and those sort of behind the scenes roles was sort of out of necessity. I had visions of things that I wanted to do. Started out in films, and I would be the kid that would just like show up at my friend's house with a camera and a script and say like, we're doing this movie, and everyone else wanted to just play Call of Duty, and I was like, no, I don't like video games, we're making a movie. And that sort of transitioned into eventually doing theater, and I have hopefully got less pushy with some of my friends about being involved in my projects, but arguably not. And I went to school for theater and ended up here after being an artist at Fringe as well. And I'm so grateful to be in this position now. I'd love now to look at what's the nitty gritty of our positions. I'd love to go through a week in the life of working with Fringe North, just to really showcase to people this very untraditional type of work that we're undertaking, and the amount of random little things that we have to do. Of course, a week in the life of working for Fringe North is going to be extremely different depending on the week, but pick an exciting week and talk about that. Why don't we start with you this time, Avery?
Yeah, so a typical week for me looks like being at my little laptop at different points during the day in different places, as we're all working remotely, which is really nice, with kind of being able to do our little hours whenever we can, I guess, between everything else that's going on, which is really great. At least it's been great for me. And then we have a few meetings, or more than a few meetings every week, depending. At least Tuesday and Thursday and Sunday, we'll have our meetings, where we talk about things, and I take the meeting notes and I ask a lot of questions. And then yeah, and then outside of that is, I mean, emailing as well, which I mean is very typical of any job, I think. And one of my responsibilities has been like coordinating printing, so I'll email about printing and then send a text to Topha when she can go and pick it up, and then that's how we get at least a portion of our print marketing materials. And then for me, also, I guess other meetings that are coming up, which like particularly with the festival production team, of creating all of those schedules, which for me is really fun. As I mentioned, having the kind of like that stage manager background slash current, I don't know what current, no, I don't know what that I'm trying to say with that, like current learning as a stage manager, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, so things like that, and then a lot of graphic design for me has been, the past, I think, like 2 weeks at least, has just been getting the program out, adding the sponsors, creating all the artist pages, all of those things, which can be quite time consuming. Um, with if anyone's done a full program of graphic design before. Yeah, and then we also do like a weekly EDI hour. So that's something that's part of every week, which for me varies, but usually it's when I'm like, I am not look at a screen anymore, and then I'll like listen to something. So I'm sure that looks different for everyone, as well as like what kind of EDI things we're interested in learning more about and through. Um, yeah, I will pass it on to Tova.
Thanks, Avery. Honestly, this is such a challenging question, and I think, Avery, you did a great job of trying to highlight just how varied and random this job can feel sometimes. We all work remote, and you're right. Sometimes that looks like sitting on the floor in your room or your couch or at your kitchen table. Sometimes it's like outside somewhere. I can't even tell you how many meetings I take wandering circles around my yard because that's the time I actually get to be outside. For me, I am working in kind of the area of marketing and community engagement, but I also do a lot of other things as well. So this week, for example, it looked like meetings. It looked like formal team meetings. It looked like behind the scenes meetings. It looked like impromptu meetings where myself and the artistic producer will just say, do you have 5 minutes? Which ends up turning into 30 while we talk each other's ears off, trying to figure everything out. It looks like me sitting on my kitchen floor with all our new marketing materials spread out around me while I stick date stickers on our signs and get them ready to go stick in the ground somewhere and fill our promo kits to go out to different supportive businesses. It looks like me putting on a button-up shirt over top of whatever sweatshirt I'm wearing so that I can have a meeting online with a funder. And then it looks like me taking my kids down and hoping they play nice while I have meetings on site at the museum. We're often always on the go. Sometimes it looks like sitting in front of the computer for hours until you realize like, oh gosh, I haven't moved in a very long time. Really, for me, what I value the most about all the different pieces of it and that kind of connective thread that moves through it all is the really meaningful conversations that we get to have with each other, with community, with new supporters of Fringe, with our different vendors or our hosts at the museum. And it sometimes feels like lots of words going around all the time, but that we're just here building and telling stories, even while we create space for others to do that in more artistic ways. So yeah, that might be it from me. I'll pass it on to you, Emma.
Yeah, so to echo everyone's sentiment, Fringe looks different for everyone and we all do lots. For me in particular, this is a great week to highlight because our ticketing went live August 1st. So ticketing is live. Buy your tickets. But for me, that's meant a week of absolute pandemonium of reviewing tickets, finding mistakes, figuring out we had discrepancies in the schedule, meetings upon meetings, in addition to team meetings, trying to sort out everything to make sure it's smooth and flawless for our artists and for our festival. I also do a lot of travel. I commute between Sault Ste. Marie and Waterloo, which is, I suppose, a very long distance to go. So for me, sometimes I take meetings on the beach. Sometimes I'm taking meetings between classes with my students running around. Sometimes I'm taking meetings in bed. Sometimes meetings are between dinner. Really, I've tuned in some really funny spots. But all in all, the flexibility of remote work and the team we have and the dynamic is so wonderful, and it makes all of those chaotic pieces of getting a festival event ready very enjoyable. Yeah, there's lots of things that are always going on, lots of things to review. I mean, as any artists know, it takes many revisions to get to a final product. And especially for me this week, there's been many revisions to get our ticketing live and to get content ready. But also the joys of creating art and working with artists. So yeah, I'll pass it to Celeste.
Thanks, Emma. Yeah, so as it's been echoed already, it definitely varies, and each week is new, and you're kind of always on your toes in a very good way. It's always exciting, and there's something new to do, and it's amazing going by week and seeing everything coming together and coming to fruition, and those anticipation days coming up to the festival. I do a few different things, but the biggest thing, Google Spreadsheets and I have been best friends this summer. filing out and figuring out different organizations to reach out to, sending out emails, making phone calls, writing letters for sponsorship and involvement, different things like that, as well as helping out with whatever the rest of the team needs, whether it be the program or, you know, anything digital, even though that's not my strong suit, but I'm happy to help whenever I can. And different things like that. So yeah, lots of emailing and phone calling and spreadsheets, and I love it. And I will pass it back to you, Garrett.
Amazing. Yeah, it's I personally am loving to hear. I mean, we do in our meetings our weekly updates, but it's really cool to hear what a week in the life looks like for every person and how these things are coming together to make this thing happen. For me, I guess just this past week, like I said, and like others have said, it's so varied. This past week, I have did a podcast. I prepared for this. I did some marketing stuff. I've been checking in with some artists about some tech things, to some questions about billeting and things like that, just like where artists are staying, you know, all of these questions as we're nearing the festival, and everyone's realizing like, oh, we still need to know this like little random thing. Like this is where all these like little questions are coming up. We're like really narrowing in. So basically all I'm doing right now is like trying to, you know, answer all those little tiny questions and make sure that we're all set for the festival in 2 weeks, which is very scary to say out loud. But anyway, yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I like that every week is so different because it keeps it interesting and exciting. The next thing I want to ask, and I'll share mine first so I can give everyone a second to think about it. But I would love to know what has been your favorite moment so far working with the festival this year. I will say for me, something that is at least, if not my favorite moment, it's one of my favorite moments. So immediately I went away from the question, but one of my favorite moments, if not my favorite moment, just happened a few days ago, which is I had a very great podcast with one of our artists, two of our artists actually in the same podcast, and they had expressed how different our festival feels from other fringes, and it's nothing, not anything against other fringe festivals. It was just that like how human centric we are, and how much we care about each individual artist, because we have, you know, really made that a priority for us. And it's really nice to hear an artist acknowledge that is the case, like that this hard work that we're doing on EDI and being, you know, human centric is coming through, and the artists are noticing it. So that was really nice reminder that the work we're doing is important and the work that we're doing is being seen. So it's been probably my favorite moment, at least one of my favorite moments. And I'll pass it. Let's start with Tova this time.
Gosh, that's such a hard question because, and I, you know, this might sound romanticized or something, but every day there are favorite moments, and it's why this work keeps happening. You know, I agree with you, Garrett, that when we get feedback from our artists, from members in the community, from other arts organizations who see us doing this work and notice the impact that it's having, that, you know, is so heartwarming and validating. And I think that it's really easy to lose sight of what we're doing in midst of how busy and chaotic it feels sometimes, and the grind of just pushing it all through. But my favorite moments include hearing feedback from community where something really resonated for them, and they left with a smile on their face and in their heart. It's not gonna lie, it's when our funders reach out to us and say, hey, check mark for you, we're giving you some money so you can do this again, because our box office proceeds go to pay those incredible artists. we really need community around us to make sure we can keep doing what we're doing. And just got one of those letters today to say, yep, successful. We're going to have a new funder on board, and that's how come we can keep doing this. One of my other favorite moments this week was my meeting at the museum with the wonderful Will Hollingshead, who is the executive director and curator there. And he and his team have supported Fringe since the very beginning, have always come on board as a venue, and every year we solidify that relationship more. And we walked through the museum space and we talked through each of the venues and we talked through all the moving parts. And at the end of it, we both realized that we knew what was going to happen, and we knew this festival inside and out. And I have to tell you, it's been many years of building to get to a point where it felt like I had answers to all the questions he asked, and vice versa. And so that was really like a 2 thumbs up moment there, and it gets difficult sometimes and chaotic. And I think that probably each of us have had a moment where we wonder what the heck we're doing anyways, or does it matter, or will we even get there? But we do all the time. And I'd love to pass it on. Who's ready? So I want to throw you on the spot. Celeste, got a favorite moment to share?
Sure, yeah, I guess this is a little bit more of a recurring moment, but when we have our big group meetings, we start with the circle in, which is basically we all pass around talking about basically how our week's been and how our day's been and what's going on in our lives. And I find those moments very special because it's a way for us to kind of connect as a team, even though we're, in front of screens, we're still as together as we can be. And just being able to talk and laugh and have that time together and get to know each other, I find really special. And I find that it makes such a big difference, and it makes me so excited to come to the meetings every day and see everybody that I work with. And it's a really great feeling to have in a workplace. And I will pass it to Emma. I hope you're ready.
I will say circling is also one of my favorite times as a team. I've worked some other positions that were more corporate, more formal, and it really just is an isolating feeling. And the fact that as a team, we're able to share how we're feeling, share triumphs, share tribulations together, and have a safe space to do so is really something wonderful. But I will have to say my absolute top favorite moment, in general, I worked with Fringe North when I was in 11th grade. So that was quite a few years ago, when Fringe was just kind of had come to Sault Ste. Marie. And coming back from school this summer, I really wanted to come home and work somewhere I was really passionate about it in the arts, and just seeing the progress that Fringe has made is absolutely incredible. The values, the work, the community engagement, just all of the things that Fringe North has become is really just so amazing to watch. And we've created as a team just such a wonderful space for artists. So just seeing that growth, coming back older and wiser, and just seeing everything that's been done and the growth that we're going to continue to do really is special to me. So very exciting. Yay, Fringe. And I will pass it off to Avery.
Thanks, Emma. I echo Celeste and Emma with the weekly meetings and team meetings in their circle, and being, I think, highlights of kind of every week. And then just this week, I am one of the emails who gets, every time someone buys a ticket, I get an email and I get a daily summary. So going through and just I guess putting the little label of tickets in my little inbox, I think has been a highlight for me this week at least. Yeah, I'll pass it back to Garrett.
That's so exciting to see tickets coming in. Tickets are on sale now. We'll keep saying it. Tickets are on sale now. Go buy tickets. I'm so excited. It's really, really great that we're at this point, albeit scary, but very great. And the next thing that I would love to ask is what has been one of the biggest challenges for you so far working with the festival this year? And what steps have you taken to overcome that challenge, or what steps are you trying to take to overcome that challenge? Does anyone have any that they would want to jump in on first? I don't want to put anyone on the spot.
Oh, I can talk about that one.
Amazing.
So, some of the team mentioned these circle-ins that we have at every meeting, and what they've already heard from me is how tough, especially the beginning of this season, was for me to carve out time and space to give Fringe my attention. One of the other pieces of myself is I stay at home as a mother to two really busy children, and summer gets busy, there's all the pressure of wanting to enjoy the short summer season and programming and all the things. And I was really having a very difficult time. It just seemed like all their sports were every time we had a meeting, and I felt like I was missing a lot and really out of step with the team. And was able to just remember to stop and breathe and delegate. In the early days of Fringe, in the very first couple of years, it was like me and a handful of people, and I really had to learn to just do everything. My kiddos were little back then, so you would see me in a stroller loaded down, just running from venue to venue, doing whatever it took, and finding out who this new kind of self is. Now that we have a full dedicated team and other folks who are doing things, and just learning how to communicate better with my family to say what I needed and when I needed to prioritize Fringe time, and asking for help there. And then also reaching out to the team and trusting that, yes, I could hand it off to these extremely capable folks who are working on Fringe with me this summer, and to not be afraid that I had to hold all the pieces and somehow still manage to balance it all. And that kind of conversation is something that I have with myself in all aspects of my life, because if any of you listening are moms, the pressure that you put on yourself to do it all, right? But I think that that's been a really big learning curve for me, and I find my feet every year differently in Fringe as each festival comes around, and have to relearn some of those things about balance and boundaries and asking for help and delegating, and knowing that it's okay if I've run out of steam and just need to not work for an evening. Always that balancing act, and finding the space for self-care while still giving all in to the work. I think that's an ongoing journey, but it was certainly a challenge for me this year. And maybe I would love to pass it on. May I pass it on to you, Avery?
Sure. I think in one way, similarly to Tova, like just getting that balance is a little tough. I'm sure for everyone, just with everything that we have going on, and just learning that to maybe think of yourself first means that you have more energy and time to do all of those things. Yeah, and then I think also in terms especially of things like this, where I don't think I'm the most socially confident person, so having those, um, I guess really having to go and speak in front of, or in the front facing roles and portions of this are kind of intimidating and daunting to me. So I think that is probably the biggest challenge for me. But I think it's going okay. We'll see when I go and do some actual in-person outreach this weekend. Yeah, I'll pass it on to Emma.
Yeah, so kind of in a similar fashion, I've had some personal struggles. This year was a really challenging health year for me. I have a chronic illness, like I mentioned. I have fibromyalgia. I was diagnosed when I was 15, and up until this year, I had struggles, but I was young, I was healthy, and I was able to kind of manage most of my life responsibilities. But this year was the first time where I was like, whoa, I'm chronically ill and my life is unpredictable. So in that nature, finding space to take care of myself, finding a good work-life balance, and being kind to myself in the sense that if I wasn't feeling well, not pushing, not overworking myself, taking the rest I need, that was definitely a difficult mental challenge, especially when you work remotely. And you can work from your bed, initially I'd find myself staying up super late at night, like not having a routine, and just finding it being a difficult time to manage my health, my happiness, and my work. But it's been a really wonderful journey. I definitely feel like even though this is my workplace, I've had a lot of personal growth, finding balance, and just the fact that our team is so understanding and we have really created such a safe space. Normally I'm often very scared to share that I'm not feeling well, just because of, not everyone takes chronic illnesses seriously, or chronic pain, but just having such support and understanding from the team, being able to delegate, just I feel so comfortable with everyone, and that's been a really wonderful thing. So obviously, like we've all mentioned, work-life balance is an ongoing battle that everyone faces. But I mean, if anyone's watching who may be living with a chronic illness, there are wonderful workplaces like Fringe that you can find that will accommodate and celebrate regardless of those health struggles. And I will pass it to Celeste. Did you go?
Not yet.
Okay, I was like, I think so.
Yeah, I think for me the biggest challenge kind of came right at the beginning of working with Fringe, is finding myself very overwhelmed, jumping right into something unknown. I've had job positions similar to this, but nothing quite like it. As we said, working with the Fringe Festival is a very unique and exciting experience. And I think the biggest challenge was learning to trust myself in my work, reminding myself that I am capable and able to do all the things that are being asked of me and do them well. So I think just focusing on, hey, take a breath, you can do this, you're going to be great, and just allowing myself to take that space and remind myself of that has completely allowed me to be comfortable in the work and comfortable with everybody that I'm working with, and able to really thrive in the position. So challenge accepted. And I will pass it back to Garrett.
Yeah, I echo what everyone is saying about work-life balance. I know that's been a challenge for all of us, especially the nature of remote work. Like, it just sort of makes that a thing. I will say, for me, outside of work-life balance, one of the challenges, and this is it's the same challenge as last year as well, is that as an artist, I am definitely in a box of experience of like what art that I have participated in. I'm very much so a theater maker, and more of a, I guess, traditional theater maker. I don't have a lot of experience outside of that. I said I've done a little bit of film and music and stuff growing up, but aside from that, I appreciate all art, but I don't necessarily know what it takes to put on other forms of art. So I think one of the challenges for me was learning to step outside of my frame of reference, to work with our artists that are creating in mediums that are completely different from what I've ever done. We have puppeteers and drag artists and burlesque performers and hip hop artists. And all of these things are completely out of my realm of experience. So I think for me, I try to approach it honestly. I'm very open when I first have these conversations with these artists that this is a completely new world for me, but I really want to learn and I really want to know more. And my hope is, as we progress along, I'm sure there's always going to be some artists that are going to come in and do something that I've never heard of. Like, I haven't had a fire swallower yet, or anything like that. But I hope I can keep building my repertoire of at least understanding how to best work with artists who are working outside of my typical genres. But it's definitely a challenge in my position for sure. So we have talked about our pasts, how we came up in art, how we were shaped by art. We've spoken a lot about the present work we're doing, and now I'd love to transition into the future, looking ahead. So the next question that I would love to ask is, in 10 years, as sort of an arbitrary number, it doesn't have to be precisely 10 years, but in 10 years, what is it that you hope to be doing? And how do you think Fringe North has aided in that? How has it had an impact on you as an individual that will help you go forward towards that dream? I would love to, well, I this is another big one, so I don't want to put anyone on the spot. If anyone is interested in speaking, you can go ahead.
I can volunteer.
Amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, so 10 years from now. I'm hoping, as far as work life goes, I really want to work with Métis youth and do music programming, whether that be instrumental, vocal, theater, maybe all of it. That would be great. So being able to have this position, this is the first time that I've really been able to put music and my Métis culture and heritage and knowledge together into one thing. So this has really kind of been that sprouting of, yeah, this is awesome. Like, let's do this forever. And it's, reaffirmed me in my passion that that's something I want to do, and something I want to work with for the long term. So being able to have this position and reaffirm those beliefs for me, and really be able to look forward and be like, this is a realistic goal, this is something you could really do with your life, is like super exciting. And I'm like really looking forward to what the future holds for me in that area. Yeah, and I will pass it to Avery.
So I guess outside of Fringe, this summer for me has been like a little bit of academics, and also producing my own play at Fringe North, and then working, doing all sorts of little production-y things and admin type things. And I think that's kind of what I would like to continue to be doing, in capacities that are, I guess, maybe a little bit bigger and year round. So I don't think I really envision much different than what I'm doing now in 10 years, I guess. But just, I guess, continuing to find those opportunities to write and produce theater, um, and doing the admin parts of theater, which I really enjoy, and doing some academics and also seeing a lot of theater. So yeah, I guess helping me do that. I will pass it to Emma.
Yeah, so the arts have always been such a huge piece of my life, but when I went away to university, I feel like I kind of closed a piece of that chapter. I was focused on academics, focused on getting my degree, being in a stable paying job. I feel like most of us have probably gone through a similar struggle as artists, and I kind of put those things aside. But working with Fringe this summer, starting to go back to my roots, get more into teaching, more into dancing, all the things that would make my younger self very happy, has been a very fruitful, fulfilling experience. I definitely in 10 years see myself working with disabled, chronically ill youth. The arts is really such a healing space for so many, me included, and putting accessibility at the forefront, like Fringe has done and continues to do, is something that I definitely want to commit my life to doing. It really has been kind of a self-discovery summer for me, revisiting all of those artsy things that I love and that fuel my soul. It's been wonderful. So what exactly 10-year Emma is going to look like, we don't know, But definitely this role and working for an organization that prioritizes all the values that are really near and dear to my heart has inspired me moving forward to continue pursuing my passions. And with that, I will pass it to Tova.
Okay, well, I'm going to avoid that 10-year number because that gets to scary time with me, which means my baby will be driving and my other one getting ready to leave the house. So ignoring 10 years, but but I think like I've always kind of dreamed Fringe in the long term. And even though my partner and I will talk about all the wonderful other places in the world where we could go and live, and I just keep boomeranging right back here to Sault Ste. Marie. And that always means Fringe for me. So when I'm dreaming and I think about the future, I think about a community arts center that Fringe would be housed in, where we can support and promote and present all sorts of artistic happenings. I think about expanding what Fringe offers to pop-ups through the season, their off-season, and education, and connecting artists across Northern Ontario, supporting local emerging artists and youth to work across barriers to access the arts, to discover new abilities in the arts, to learn and grow. And that for me means educational programs. It means bringing in professionals from other places so we have more resources and services here, and just really continuing to contribute to the community. That's honestly what I dream about. And I just like, you know, I hope that it happens, and I hope that the community continues to support Fringe as it grows, and so many good ideas like that emerge each year out of the fabulous teams that we have. And I just take all of that passion and creativity and inspiration, and the dream just keeps growing, you know? Passing it to you, Avery.
I already went. I can pass it to Garrett.
You did already go. And I was listening, and it's just like I saw your smiling face and felt like it needed to go to you.
Yeah, thank you all so much for sharing. I think for myself, it's I am next year starting to go to rabbinical college to become a rabbi, which is seemingly vastly different from the work we're doing here. But I think this summer especially sort of reaffirmed to me that it's not that different, especially within the outreach and EDI type work. It's, I think, really reaffirmed my decision to want to go down that path and to be in a position where I can be a, a guide for some people, or I can be that figure that can help people and talk people through things, assist people with events from birth to death. That's really the job of a rabbi, and I think this job has given me better tools to know how to approach that human-centric work, and I'm really grateful for that. And I also think I feel confident that I want to continue doing this work in the arts as well, alongside the work that I do as a rabbi, because to me it does tie in so much, and I do have such a strong passion for not only arts in general, but for doing arts outreach and using arts practices for therapeutic purposes, like working with youth, working with emerging artists who have had roadblocks for whatever reason, especially in Northern Ontario. That was what my graduate thesis was on. It's a big passion for me. So I want to hold on to that. And like I said, Fringe has given me tools for all of that. And the last thing that I'll say is I will be getting married in the next few months, which is also scary. Tons going on. And I fingers crossed, in 10 years I'll have kids. And it's been really inspiring to see you, Tova, do the work you do with your young family. And like you're so passionate about the work, and you're so like on top of things, and you have these kids by your side, and it's really amazing how you're able to balance that. And we have artists in the festival who are in the same boat. They have kids and they're making these amazing works of art, which you'll see in the festival. So that's been really inspiring, and shown me that you can be a parent and still do this work. Like it's not one or the other, which I think was the traditional thought back in the day, which it should not be the thought anymore. So I'd like to wrap things up by asking everyone, without putting much thought in it, just to say one word about what it is like to work with Fringe North. It's just like the first word that comes to your mind that describes what it's like to do the position that you're in. Whoever wants to jump into it and give it a shot.
I'm gonna jump in. The first word that popped into my head is family. A lot of times in our social media content, we talk about Fringe family, and it really it feels like that. We've created a space where everyone feels safe, accepted, included, and it's really special to be a part of this team. So family was the first thing I I thought of. I know as artists we all kind of think of our theater people, for me, my dance people, as family, and this is kind of what this space has become for me. And I will pass it to Celeste.
Thanks, Emma. Yeah, the first word that popped right into my head was fulfilling. To have a job where it doesn't feel like a job, and it's something you're excited to do every day, and something you're really passionate about, and something that allows you to keep growing and learning all the time, I think is really special and not always super easy to find. So to be able to find that and be in that position with other people who were looking for the same thing and found that too, I think is very special and very fulfilling. So I will pass to Avery.
The first word that popped into my head was Fringe, and then it was followed by fun. Yeah, I think it is fun, and also I think in terms of being, yes, it is a fringe festival, which is theater on the fringes. But I think in terms of having this kind of workplace is not normative. I think it's very much on the fringes at the moment, and hopefully it will move into the mainstream. Yeah, I will pass it on to Tova.
Only one word. If you know me, you know that that's impossible. But really, overall, what I can say is fantastic.
Love it. And I would say the word for me is passion. I am floored by the passion that I see from everyone here, everyone else on our team, all of the artists, everyone that goes into making this festival happen. It is a love letter to art that is not typically featured in the mainstream, and it's fueled by passion. Thank you so much, everyone. This is a lot of fun to have this little chat, and I hope people enjoyed seeing a little bit of a peek behind the scenes with some of our team members. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Merci, miguel, gracias. And a reminder that Fringe North 2023 will be from August 16th to the 20th. August 16th is less than 2 weeks away. That's crazy. You can check out our website and all our social media in the description below for more information about the festival. And that is including a link to buy tickets, and tickets are on sale now. You don't have to wait. You can go click that button now and get tickets, and Avery will get notified and we'll get very happy about it. And if you want to support the work that our team is doing here, you can consider tipping the Fringe, and you can find the link for that below as well. We will be back for one final roundtable next Thursday evening, and we can't wait to see you then. Thanks so much, everyone.